Imagine walking into a restaurant where the menu is 22 pages long. A place serving burgers, tacos, pasta, Thai food, egg rolls, steaks, poke bowls, cheesecakes, cocktails, and avocado rolls, all from one kitchen. Most restaurants struggle to perfect 20 dishes. The Cheesecake Factory serves more than 250, and somehow it works. While chains across America are shrinking menus, cutting staff, and simplifying operations, the Cheesecake Factory did the opposite. Bigger menu, bigger portions, bigger chaos, and somehow bigger profits. So how does one restaurant chain cook hundreds of dishes from scratch every single day without collapsing under its own complexity? Why are Americans willing to wait over an hour just to eat here? And how did a small family cheesecake bakery become one of the highest grossing restaurant chains in America? Today, we're going behind the kitchen doors of one of the most fascinating food empires in the country. This is the unbelievable story of the Cheesecake Factory. The first thing everyone notices at Cheesecake Factory is the menu. Not because of what's on it, but because it feels endless. It's less like a restaurant menu and more like a college textbook. Page after page after page. Chinese chicken salad, buffalo blasts, Louisiana pasta, fish tacos, shepherd's pie, Thai lettuce wraps, glam burgers, skinny-licious options, and then suddenly 30 different cheesecakes. Most restaurant experts would tell you this is a terrible idea. In the food industry, smaller menus are supposed to mean faster service, lower costs, and fewer mistakes. That's why chains like Starbucks and Chili's have aggressively reduced menu items in recent years. But the Cheesecake Factory ignored the trend completely. Instead, they kept adding more food. And that created a massive problem because every new dish means more ingredients, more training, more prep work, more chances for mistakes, and more pressure inside the kitchen. Yet somehow, their kitchens operate like controlled chaos. Every day, before customers even arrive, an army of cooks begins preparing hundreds of ingredients from scratch. Vegetables sliced by hand, sauces mixed fresh, meat portioned carefully, cheese cut precisely. Nothing can be rushed because with this many dishes, consistency becomes everything. One slice too thick, the texture changes. One sauce slightly off, thousands of customers notice. And at Cheesecake Factory, every detail matters. Behind the dining room, the kitchen feels like a command center. Screens glow, pans sizzle, timers beep constantly. Cooks move in every direction at once, and every second counts. Once a customer places an order, the kitchen usually has about 15 minutes to complete the entree. That sounds manageable until you realize one table might order a medium rare steak, Thai shrimp pasta, fish tacos, fried mac and cheese balls, and a poke bowl, all at the same time. Different cooking methods, different stations, different timing, yet everything has to arrive together. So the Cheesecake Factory built a system that functions almost like air traffic control. An algorithm decides exactly when each station receives an order. Steaks appear earlier because they take longer. Fried foods appear later. Pasta timing changes depending on complexity. The goal is synchronization, every plate landing at the service window at the exact same moment. But even with technology, the pressure is intense. Tickets on the kitchen screen change colors. Yellow means caution. Orange means time is running out. Red means the kitchen is officially behind. And when tickets turn red, managers jump into action immediately because delays create mistakes, and mistakes at Cheesecake Factory spread fast. Remember, this isn't a simple burger chain. One station might handle 10 pans at once. Another might juggle multiple steak temperatures simultaneously. One distraction can ruin everything. Even the managers constantly inspect dishes before they leave the kitchen, checking temperatures, checking portions, checking presentation, sometimes even tasting pasta water to make sure seasoning is correct. That level of detail sounds excessive, but it's one reason the chain became so successful. Customers may joke about the giant menu, but they also expect the food to taste the same every single time. And somehow, most of the time, it does. Long before giant menus and massive restaurants, the Cheesecake Factory was just a small bakery. In the 1940s, a woman named Evelyn Overton began baking cheesecakes in Detroit. Her dream was simple: make great cheesecake, sell it to restaurants, build a business. But success came slowly. So eventually, the family moved operations to Los Angeles. Her son, David Overton, helped grow the business by selling cheesecakes wholesale. But restaurants weren't interested in dozens of flavors. Most only wanted one. So David made a risky decision. In 1978, he opened his own restaurant. And here's the crazy part: he had almost no restaurant experience. On opening day, he was reportedly so nervous, he delayed opening the doors until after lunch rush. But once customers entered, the restaurant filled within minutes. People loved it, not because it was fancy, not because it was cheap, but because it occupied a space America desperately needed, something between fast food and expensive fine dining. At the time, many restaurants were shifting toward frozen ingredients and microwave cooking. Cheesecake Factory went the opposite direction: fresh ingredients, huge portions, made from scratch meals, and customers noticed, especially America's growing middle class. Families wanted restaurants that felt special without feeling unaffordable. Cheesecake Factory delivered exactly that: a place where birthdays happened, first dates happened, graduation dinners happened, and eventually those giant portions and massive menus became part of American culture itself. There's something deeply American about abundance, and Cheesecake Factory understood that better than almost anyone. The portions are enormous. One pasta plate can easily feed 2 people, sometimes 3. People joke that leftovers are guaranteed before the meal even starts. But in modern America, that strategy became surprisingly powerful because restaurant prices exploded after 2020. Chains across the country raised prices dramatically. At the same time, many Americans started eating out less often, which changed how customers think. If dining out is expensive, people want value, and value doesn't always mean cheap. Sometimes value means big portions, variety, and feeling like the experience was worth the money. That's where Cheesecake Factory thrives. A customer might spend $25 on dinner, but leave with enough leftovers for lunch tomorrow. That changes the psychology completely. And then there's the atmosphere. Most chains redesigned themselves over the years: minimalist interiors, simplified branding, modern aesthetics. But Cheesecake Factory barely changed. The dim lighting, the massive booths, the decorative columns, the oversized menus. It feels frozen in time. And weirdly, people love that, because in an era where everything changes constantly, nostalgia became valuable. Cheesecake Factory feels familiar, comfortable, predictable, like America in the early 2000s never fully disappeared. And for many customers, that feeling matters just as much as the food. Here's the part most customers never realize. The Cheesecake Factory isn't just a restaurant, it's an incredibly smart business machine. Because behind the chaos, the company quietly mastered profitability. Take dessert, for example. Cheesecake isn't just branding, it's strategy. Desserts are among the highest profit items in restaurants, and the Cheesecake Factory built its entire identity around them. Customers come expecting cheesecake, which means many tables order it automatically. That creates huge profit margins, and the company optimized operations in clever ways. While most meals are cooked fresh inside restaurants, the cheesecakes themselves are produced centrally in factories and shipped nationwide. That guarantees consistency and saves labor. They also reuse ingredients across multiple dishes. One ingredient might appear in salads, egg rolls, nachos, and appetizers. That keeps inventory efficient despite the the massive menu. And then there's the volume. Some Cheesecake Factory locations generate over $12 million annually. That's significantly higher than many competing restaurant chains. Why? Because Cheesecake Factory isn't targeting one type of customer. It targets everybody. Families, teenagers, office workers, date nights, tourists, large groups, picky eaters, health-conscious customers, people craving comfort food. One person wants pasta, another wants Asian food, someone else wants steak. Cheesecake Factory says yes to all of them. That flexibility became its superpower. But maintaining quality across 250 menu items is brutally difficult. Every new dish creates operational stress. New recipes require testing, training, ingredient sourcing, kitchen adjustments. The company can spend months developing a single menu rollout, and employees travel to California headquarters just to learn new dishes before teaching them nationwide. That level of training is expensive, time-consuming, and risky because one bad launch affects hundreds of restaurants instantly. But Cheesecake Factory knows something important. Customers forgive complexity if the experience feels exciting. That's why the menu feels almost theatrical. You don't just order food, you explore. So why does Cheesecake Factory continue succeeding while so many restaurant chains struggle? Because it understands something many companies forgot. People don't just pay for food, they pay for feelings. Cheesecake Factory sells abundance, comfort, celebration, choice, nostalgia. It's one of the few chain restaurants where almost everyone can find something they want. And in modern America, that's surprisingly rare. The menu may be ridiculous, the portions may be oversized, the kitchens may operate under non-stop pressure, but somehow that chaos became part of the appeal. In an age where many restaurants became smaller, faster, and more efficient, the Cheesecake Factory stayed unapologetically excessive. And maybe that's exactly why people keep coming back. Because sometimes Americans don't want minimalism. Sometimes they want giant menus, huge slices of cheesecake, oversized booths, and enough leftovers for tomorrow. The Cheesecake Factory turned too much into a billion-dollar business, and against all odds, it worked.